The microphone went out actually by accident. So I don't know if you guys can hear me or not. But like I said, we're gonna pull up the AP poll for you guys who are listening on YouTube. But yeah, I don't know if you guys on Spotify, you guys your audio was fine, but I guess on YouTube most have cut out. So apologies for that. Anyway, let's go ahead and pull up. Where was I at here? Yeah, share screen. Let's see. Yeah, apologies for you guys on YouTube. It sounded like things are muting a little bit, or muted briefly, but it is what it is. Nothing I can change now, or I can't change it now. Anyway, let's see here. So AP poll. So here's the AP poll. This is from On3. So we have number 1 Ohio State, number 2 Oregon, number 3 Georgia, number 4 Notre Dame, 5 Texas, 6 Indiana, 7 Miami, number 8 Texas A&M, number 9 Ole Miss, number 10 Oklahoma, number 10 Oklahoma, number 11 LSU, 12 Texas Tech, 13 Alabama, 14 BYU, 15 USC. For some reason on their graphic, on3's graphic, they have USC 14, but they're supposed to be 15. Michigan at 16, Washington 17, Penn State 18, SMU 19, 20 Tennessee, 21 Utah, 22 Iowa, 23 Houston, 24 Louisville, 25 Missouri. So that's their rankings. And in general, I don't have much of a problem with those rankings. I think they're probably fine. I don't really see much of an issue with, how they lined up everything and whatnot. I don't really see an issue with the way they did their poll there. I think that's mostly, I agree with most of the teams on there that they put on there for the most part. And I think, looking at it, again, you have Bama at 13, the lowest ranking they've had there since 2008. Of course, that year they ended up going to the SEC championship game, so who knows? Maybe that's a sign of things to come. BYU being at 14, no problem there. Now, I will say there's one team on here, well, really two, that differ from my poll that we did that are not ranked at all, period. And that's Clemson and Florida. Now, we'll explain both of these here. So Florida, more or less, they have a lot of talent coming in. Again, like I said before, like others have said, the issue with Florida and the issue with Billy Napier wasn't the recruiting. It wasn't the talent on the team. It wasn't, the player and personnel stuff. It wasn't even the behind-the-scenes stuff, right? The recruiting people, nutritionist, strength and conditioning, that wasn't the issue. The issue was, however, the folks who were in charge of running the offense, for example, obviously Bill Napier, right, and the procedural stuff and the penalties and things like that. So even with the coaching transition to going from Bill Napier to John Summerall, you still have a lot of talent there in Gainesville. A ton of talent, a lot of talent that could have very easily left. Did not. You also brought in talent through the portal, right? Bringing in Eric Singleton, you bring in Aaron Philo to compete for that quarterback battle. And you also bring in Buster Faulkner as the OC. So there's a lot of hope here for Florida that they could be a very good team. They're extremely talented. There's a lot of things about Florida, even not including their schedule, which in a lot of ways is reasonable, if you will. I've been saying that. A lot of our folks have been saying it too. I mean, they'll be favored probably in the majority of their games, right? There's maybe 1, 2, or 3. There's definitely a handful of games that are not going to be favored in. There's also going to be a large amount of games they will be favored in, right? So Florida not being on here, I disagree with a little bit. Also, another team that is not on here, Clemson, not on here. I think, like I said before, I still trust Dabo Swinney now. Yes, does it feel like blind trust? Does it feel like, you're kind of falling for it a little bit? Yeah, sure, but I still, even with all the talent they lost, and again, they lost a ton of talent coming off of last year's team that, again, they only won 7 games in the regular season. So, yes, it wasn't the typical Clemson you're used to within, the last 10 years or so of Dabo Swinney. But still a lot of talent, though, on that team. It got wasted. I still trust Tom Allen as defensive coordinator. I think with Dabo Swinney and them, with the ACC being kind of the current the status of it the way it is right now, given that it's it is, in fact, the weakest conference in the Power 4, there's a lot of opportunities to be had there for Clemson, and I think there is definitely a path for them to be a maybe a slightly inflated team. Ends up finishing the year with 9 or 10 wins. So a little bit projecting there, but again, some of the stuff we were hearing from spring and fall camp, it's that they still have good wide receiver talent, at least better than what they had before. It's getting a little bit better. Running back situation, I think, should be a lot better than it was last year. The only thing that's holding Clemson back purely on offense is really two things. One, the fact that they're still running the same stuff they've been running since 2011, right? They have really brought back Chad Morris to be the offensive coordinator. And that's not necessarily a new thing, right? They're still running the same stuff they were running, 10 plus years ago. So that's not really reassuring. And what's also not reassuring is that you still have that quarterback battle not really definitive yet. It's not been really, there's no clarity as to who the starting quarterback will be for Clemson, whether it's Christopher Fazina or it's going to be Tate Reynolds, right? You still have that battle going on. And I'm assuming it's probably going to be Chris Fazina, but could also see a path where, again, like we mentioned before, that you could see a Chris Fazina starting the year and then eventually having Tate Reynolds coming in. So here's, I'll pull up my poll in the nuclear, if you will, of a tweet that I made yesterday. And here's, I'll bring it up and I'll bring up our poll to kind of show you what went down yesterday. Let me go up and go ahead and reshare the screen here. Let me see if you can find our stream. There it is. Hold on just a minute. Okay. So yeah, so here is yeah, let me go ahead and do that. Yeah, so here's the post that I made. Right here's I kind of replied to On3's post about the AP poll. Right, so I responded to it and say, hey, here's our poll, and here's kind of as a comparison, right? And I knew exactly what was going to happen when I posted this, and I knew exactly what was going to happen, that I was going to post this, and a ton of people were going to go absolute ape shit when they see this. And when they see like Indiana being at number 10 and Florida being at number 14 and Clemson being at 23 and whatnot, and Texas Tech being a little bit lower than maybe they should be. And that was expected. That was sort of the whole point here, is to kind of put this poll out there as a comparison generally, but also to kind of see, how different or, what the different reactions were going to be, right? And on cue, it was pretty nuclear. A lot of folks were not over the moon about this poll whatsoever. So here on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, I'll just read these off to you, some of the comments, and then I'll give my thoughts on this and my opinions on this. But here's some of the comments. This guy saying UF at 14, Clemson at 23 is a choice. Let me see here. Make sure we're live on YouTube still. I think we are still live on YouTube, so that's all right. That's good. Anyway, like I was saying, so yeah, so you have this guy here saying that you also have this commenter saying your poll is even more ridiculous. Having the defending champs at 10 is crazy work. A lot of folks complaining about Indiana being at number 10. You have this guy complaining about it. You have this guy complaining about USC and claiming that I live in LA. He's saying basically, so let me guess, you're out of LA. You have USC at number 6. Well, hate to tell you, Justin, a bunch of numbers on your Twitter account there, your username. Hate to break it to you, if you've been watching my show, if you're an actual viewer of this show, you would know I'm not on the West Coast. I do not live in LA. I don't ever been to LA before. I've been to California, but that was like back when I was in high school for a summer trip up to San Diego. Beautiful place, by the way. I would recommend anyone going out there, go visit San Diego. But I've never been to LA. I've never lived on the West Coast. I live on the East Coast. I live in Jacksonville, Florida. So no, I am not a LA shill. I am not a USC fan. I want USC to be good, but I'm not a fan. So you're factually wrong on that. So thank you, Justin. 6351859, blah, blah, blah. Another Indiana fan getting mad at me about Indiana being number 10. You have this guy saying Texas at number 2 as sure as they'll finish outside the top 10. I didn't say that. This guy also saying USC number 6 is laughable. Okay, Florida being at number 14 is absurdly optimistic. All right, there's an ad here, 14 at or at this guy's saying Florida at 14, is a little questionable. And this guy's saying, yeah, we don't care about, that shit says Florida, okay. And this guy, Iowa fan, randomly chiming in saying this is really bad. This guy here, BYU fan, saying BYU behind USC and Florida is a joke. Okay. This guy just says laughable. Okay. This guy says, oh shit, I'm not going to read those two words, dear. Okay, whatever. This guy says, congrats on your podcast, with 83 followers. Well, thank you, St. Joseph. I don't see your account there, asshole. Let's see here. I don't know. This is a South Carolina fan saying Clemson. All right, that's fine. AI slop. Okay, like, what else are you going to use? Like, Photoshop and all that shit costs money. So, no, like, we're not. Yes, thank you for pointing it out there. This is AI slop. This guy looks like, I don't know who that's supposed to be. It says that's awful. Okay, this never guy says AI slop, delete this. This Indiana fan. Posting a gift there. I believe that's Tom Hardy, I believe. You have enough more Indiana fans here than you have this guy who I'm going to see if we can find this post here. Let me actually go ahead and find what this guy said. And let me see. Where is it here? This wonderful gentleman ended up. I'll just go ahead and out him out here on YouTube. I really don't care. All right. See what this clown had to say. All right. So this guy had the audacity for some reason to block me for reasons he didn't really get into. It seems like he copy and paste his responses. So get it from Spotify. This clown, what's his name here? Is it Redbeard guy? Okay, your other name is NH. This clown saw this post and he decided to block me. He says, thanks for letting me know to block you and ensure you never get engagement from me again. All that because you're one of your teams you cheered for wasn't ranked. You didn't agree with the ranking in the preseason poll. Well, here's what I'm going to say here to all these people who were, responding and whatnot to my post and getting mad over a preseason poll. That's the thing. It's a preseason poll. So to anyone who's getting mad about this, and to anyone who is, up in arms and, getting frustrated over an AP or a preseason poll, you really have a special type of issues. I'll just say that. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I mean, if you're getting mad over a preseason poll that is not end all be all, it's not gospel, it's not, the law or anything like that. It's a preseason poll. The shit can change. Indiana, for example. Let me also say this as well. A lot of these Indiana fans, these so-called fans, in those comment section of that post, I'm just gonna say it out loud, and you guys can get mad at me and stomp and yell and all that crap. All I'm gonna say is that a lot of the folks in those comments that were supposedly Indiana fans, let me just say this. A whole bunch of you guys, not all of you, some of you guys are probably legit Indiana fans and have been fans for a long time. Let me just say this. The majority of you, especially some of those who have Kirk Cincinnati as your profile picture, a lot of you assholes joined yesterday. You guys signed up yesterday, long before or well after Indiana got good. So don't come after me getting mad at your team being laid way low after you basically signed up yesterday, okay? Not to mention, none of you guys have a podcast either. Some of you, again, were getting on to me saying, oh, congrats on having your 83 followers. Where's your podcast, asshole? Where are you at? Have you been doing a podcast for over 200 episodes in over 2 years? I don't see it. Show it to me. So again, to the Indiana fans, those who are in the comment section saying, oh, you're crazy and ridiculous having Indiana number 10, you basically signed up yesterday. You signed up yesterday. You were not a fan 10 years ago. And prove to me you're a fan. Prove to me if you're a fan. If you're a fan, do you know who Indiana's starting quarterback was in 2020? Take a guess. Who was it? It's the name is Michael Penix, who is with the Atlanta Falcons right now, who was at Washington, made it to the national title a couple years ago against Michigan. That same quarterback originally was at Indiana. So, yeah, any of these Indiana fans, the guys with the Kirk Cincinnati face as their profile. Yeah, cry me a fucking river. You signed up yesterday. Again, to another guy who said, "Oh, you're based out of LA." Factually wrong. I live in Florida. I don't even live on the West Coast. So yeah, and then some other folks on here saying, "Oh, at least I know not to waste my time on this pod." Again, asshole, where's your podcast at? Where's your 200 plus episodes at? Again, I understand a lot of a lot of Indiana fans exist. Real Indiana fans, they exist. But these assholes out here, these accounts with, barely any followers, and some of these, if you look it up, they literally joined like back in January, conveniently before the national title. Again, you guys signed up yesterday, so don't come after me in the comment section. Get him out of the preseason poll. That can very easily change. Again, Indiana being a number 10 is a reflection of what the team is and what it isn't. They are not last year's team. They are this year's team. Again, I'm not saying they suck. I'm not saying that they're awful and stuff. Again, I am not saying that. I'm not saying they're going to be awful and whatnot. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they are not last year's team. What was that? Is that a plane going by or something? Look, living here in Jacksonville. Speaking of, we get a lot of Navy planes around here because there is a large military presence here. I believe that might be one of the one of the PA Poseidons or something like that flying around. There's a whole lot of them based off here. But anyway, like I was saying, yes, any of these trolls, and I mean, not trolls, but, I don't know, twitiots, if you will, in the comments section. Again, first of all, it's a preseason poll, and they can change over time, and, teams can move around, right? Again, Indiana could very easily move up or move down, right? And also, again, where's your podcast at? Instead of hiding behind a camera or hiding behind a computer screen, iPad, phone, do a podcast. Respond to me like organically, not behind a keyboard and typing some shit. And and also blocking me over a preseason poll, like, all right, brother, like you did it to yourself. Like I don't know what to tell you. It's a preseason poll. Like I wasn't threatening you or anything like that. So all right, you be you, I guess. Whatever floats your boat. But yeah, boy, that post certainly went nuclear and definitely drew an ire from a lot of folks. But it's what I thought was going to happen. That's clearly what happens on social media a lot of times when you post something and it goes nuclear and everyone gets mad at you. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything else. That's the beauty of being on the internet. But yeah, a lot of you guys, either these Indiana fans who signed up yesterday, and these twitiots, if you will, if you want to use the old Brian Harson quote. Man, a lot of you guys are either just stupid or whatever, or like getting things factually wrong, saying my show's based off of LA because I have USC number 6. Again, buddy, I don't fucking live in LA. I live in freaking Florida, in Jacksonville. I'm way far away from them. So yeah, factually, you asshole got that wrong. So man, I had a lot of anger today on the show, but yeah, I wanted to point that out. That was boy, but wasn't that something yesterday? So man, how about that? Anyway, moving right along to something more positive, if you will. And we spent almost 20 minutes or well over 20 minutes on that. Amazing. Let's see here. 2026 conference picks here for the SEC. So I'm going to do that here in a second. We'll get some water real quick, and then we'll move right along. All right, making sure, yeah, we're still live on YouTube, right? SEC conference picks for 2026. We'll be doing this for all the other conferences. I think we've done the ACC, done the Big Ten. We're doing the SEC, and then we're doing the Big 12 on Thursday. And I believe the week after we'll do the playoff picks. So we're not too far away from getting through these segments here, and we'll eventually do our playoff picks. We got to get through the conference picks first, and then we'll move right along. So yeah, SEC picks here. So we'll go ahead and pull up the graphic here for everyone to see. Let me get back to where I can share our screen and pull this up. Beautiful graphic, by the way. Yes, it is from AI, but again, like I said, what else are you going to use, right? Photoshop, all that stuff's not cheap, right? So got to use the tools that you're being provided with. So may as well use them while you can. Anyway, let's see here. Pull up our graphic here. That's sharing our screen. I don't want to do that. Okay, image. All right, yeah. So the SEC conference picks for 2026. So we have, let's see here. So the top three teams in the SEC, the way I kind of see this potentially playing out here for the SEC this year. So number one and the top three here, and again, like I mentioned before for the other segments when we've done those, the top three or the top three represents the top two teams who were in the conference title, and then the third team is the one that was left out. So number one, Georgia, number two, Texas, and the number three left out is Alabama. We'll detail this in a minute. Georgia and Texas, yes, they both have their issues with offensive line injuries and stuff like that. We'll see to what degree how significant those are. Hopefully, they're not too significant. But again, we'll circle back to those here in a little bit. I just blindly trust Kirby Smart. I just do. I mean, I think they're again the most consistent program, the SEC. They're the program I trust the most. They have the coach I trust the most. I just feel like even with these small, discrepancies and issues with the offensive line potentially, and they're still trying to figure out the wide receiver rotation and maybe the running back stuff, I still think they're a team that I can see easily getting to the SEC championship game. I mean, they made it there last year and they won it. And they won it 2 years in a row. So at the moment, that's who I'm going to go with to make it to the SEC championship game. And then there's Texas. Been there before. They didn't win it, the first year, but they've been there before. Obviously, with Arch being there now, second year as the starter under the system, he's got more and more experienced. They went all out in the transfer portal with whether it's Cam Coleman or Hollywood Smothers on top of all the other talent they've had. Again, yes, there's been some issues with the offensive line. Everyone's seemingly dealing with that. I just also have a lot of faith in Sark to a certain extent. Yes, is it the same level of as faith, if you will, as I would have in Kirby Smart in Georgia? No, it's not. It's a little bit lower. But definitely I would trust him over a lot of the other coaches in the SEC. No, I mean, it won't be like that by that much, but definitely there is a slightly more level, or there's a slightly more, facet of trust there for Texas. Then number three, Alabama, they barely get left out. Really, to me, is going to boil down to can they run the football? Everything else about this team, whether it's wide receivers with Ryan Williams, I know he changed his name, but I'm not saying all that. I know it's reference to his mom, but he's still Ryan Williams, at least to me. So you still have Ryan Williams there. You still have fairly decent receivers, even beyond him. The big thing for them is can they run the football? Can they actually run the football? They could in the last few years, so we'll see if they can actually do that or not. I hesitate to say if they will or not. That's kind of the problem here. So who knows? But then finishing number three here wouldn't surprise me. They are definitely going to be a team that obviously will be a playoff team, but again, even regardless of who the quarterback's going to be, whether it's Keelan Russell or Austin Mack, it really doesn't matter. Folks are still leaning towards Russell, but there's also an avenue where Austin Mack could just win the job. Right? He has more experience than Russell does. Right? He's been there longer. He's literally been with Kellen DeBoer. Going back to Washington when he was there for when he was there for a couple years. So another real possibility. Now the surprise team here. This one could have gone multiple ways. Okay, I could have put Florida here, but that would have been too obvious, right? Could have put Auburn on here. Could have, right? Could have easily put South Carolina, but they were too injured. They were losing a whole bunch of players, which is not good. I could also put Arkansas on here. Could have easily put Mississippi State on here. But I decided to go with a different team, a different direction. Kentucky, Will Stein, first year. Now, is it going to be a guarantee that they'll be, a quick turnaround team from what they had last year, even to the same level that maybe Mark Stoops had them, going back to when the SEC used to have divisions, right? Could it be possible that, or is it still in the realm of possibility that they could be up to that level? Well, the answer to that's probably no. But given Will Stein's history and his experience, right, being with Dan Lanning and having a pretty massive coaching resume with being a successful offensive coordinator at multiple stops, given his experience and knowing the state of Kentucky and him potentially being a different figure than what you had previously, it is not out of the realm possibility. If things fall the way they could fall for Kentucky, that they could shock some folks. They could go to a bowl game their first year. It's gonna be tough. It's not gonna be easy, obviously. I mean, yes, they are one of the teams that you'd put in that category of take the checks, take the losses, right? What Bud Elliott always says, right? So there's obviously that little facet there, that kind of little caveat, but it's not impossible. It's unlikely, but I think that'll be an interesting team to see there as a surprise. Kentucky. So I'll be going with them. Again, I could very easily put Florida on here. I could put Auburn on here. I can even put Arkansas on here with Ryan Silverfield. Unlikely as it is, but I think Kentucky could be on there with Will Stein. Very excited to see what the Wildcats will look like this year under his leadership. Now, the SEC championship game, now the graphic there says the Big Ten. Just ignore that. I made a mistake there. It's supposed to be the SEC, but anyway. Oh, who knows? I mean, it could also be the Big Ten title game, too. I mean, really not much difference if you ask me. But anyway, SEC championship game. Yes, I know on YouTube it says Big Ten. Typo there. Or I forgot to change the from the notes. SEC title game, Texas, Georgia. I have Georgia winning. Again, going with the trust factor here. Again, both these teams uber talented, yes, even with the injuries they're dealing with and the uncertainty at certain positions. Even with all that, I would go with Georgia here. And that is, again, going with the trust thing here. Again, nothing wrong with Sark, but I do agree with most people that, well, I do believe that, this is a good team, and this is a team that obviously can win a national title, given the potential, especially at quarterback. Again, with Sark, well, I do trust him over a lot of other coaches in the conference. Like, for example, do I trust Sark over Josh Heupel? As much as I do like Josh Heupel and his offense, I do trust Sark over him. Do I trust Sark over Kalen DeBoer? A little bit, not by much, really. I mean, if you want to go history-wise, yeah, I'll probably favor Kalen DeBoer in most cases than not. But I'll just go Texas, at least go Sark over Kalen. But really, and truly, at the worst, they're about the same, right? Let's see here. Alex Glesh, Sark, obviously Sark. John Summerall, Sark, probably. So, yeah, as you can see, outside of maybe a handful of coaches, like one or two, I'll trust Sark more times over not than any other coach in the SEC. Now, if you want to go big picture across the country, obviously, yeah, Dane Lanning, I'll trust him over Sark. Ryan Day, clearly, duh. Ditto with Coach Sig. But in the SEC, I think Sark and Texas, they are the second best team in the conference, at least in my opinion, going into the year. Georgia is definitely the team I would favor to win the conference right now. And that's who I have winning the SEC is Georgia. And that means that, based on that means Georgia and Texas obviously will be in the College Football Playoff, the 12-teamer. Bama's probably in, and then, you go beyond that. Is Oklahoma in? Is Ole Miss in with Trinidad Chambliss and company? Is Tennessee in? Potentially, is Texas A&M back with Marcel Reed and company? Is Florida in? Probably not, but, you never know. So, yeah, conference picks there for the SEC. Again, the top three teams. Georgia number 1, Texas 2. They're in a conference title. Bama just misses. The surprise team to me probably going to be Kentucky. SEC championship game. Again, I know on YouTube it says the Big Ten title. Again, typo. Though really and truly they're basically the same thing, right? There's really not much difference, right? In terms of the magnitude of the game and whatnot. Sure, you get the idea. Georgia, Texas. I have Georgia over Texas. So SEC conference picks, and again, like I said, we'll do the ACC, or we've done the ACC, we've done the Big Ten, now we've done the SEC, now we'll do obviously the Big 12 next. That should be fun, right? A lot of teams to choose there, a whole menu of teams, if you will. So that one should be definitely a lot of fun there determining that. So yeah, how about that? Let's see here, moving right along. Fall camp until then we'll get out of here. So it might be about a 40-minute show, if you will. So not too much out of the usual. But I will just say this as we go forward here in time with the way things are progressing with the show and things like that. And like I mentioned on Twitter the other day, we have a lot of things happening here. One of them is going to be, and I'll just kind of go ahead and tease it here, we may or may not be introducing our own little model. Predictive model. Yes, we're using AI, and more likely, if this is the case, wink, wink, it is. I'll be using AI, but it's like, computer models, even like the one that Josh Pate uses, yeah, it's a computer. So it's like, what's the difference here? Like, again, it's a tool that's out there, may as well use it. So, yes, we're using a unidentified AI tool to help get this model going. I've been playing around with it, been testing it a little bit. I think I'll be using it. Now, in the past, and we'll go over this again when we get to next week when we start predicting games, right? Uh, for a while we've been using the website and the model that College Football Nerds, so those guys, Josh and Daniel, use over there. And look, we'll still use it as like a resource, but it won't be like our only model we'll use. Obviously, we'll have our own model given the hypothetical point spread and whatnot. So yeah, it's not that we're moving away from College Football Nerds, like in their stuff. We're not. I still like their stuff, and obviously their model is way more, less crude than ours. But the problem with theirs, though, particularly, is that theirs is only available, or at least online, after 4 weeks, right, when they get more data and stuff like that. Whereas our model, it just starts raw, right? It's completely, fresh and whatnot. All the information from fall camp and whatnot it's a little bit more, different variables in there. But we'll still use Cultural Nerds. We'll still have their model and the predictions and whatnot, and we'll see what their numbers are saying and whatnot, and we'll use their information. But yeah, a little update there. So yes, we are going to be introducing our own model here pretty soon. Not like an actual model, but a computer model, if you will, to predict games, to give hypothetical point spreads, things like that. So we'll also compare those to FanDuel and their numbers as well. So little housekeeping note there. But like I mentioned, here in Jacksonville, it's been really warm. I mean, it's hot today, hot as an oven, blast furnace, whatever you want to use. Again, we're supposedly supposed to get some rain, but I don't know. Again, the weather models, any of the models I've been looking at over the last hour, whether it's the NAM or the HRR. And look, if you're someone who's not a weather nerd, and then just kind of ignore the next few minutes here, but any of the predictive models here that show you the simulated radar and stuff like that, again, like the NAM and the HRR, not showing a whole lot of rain up here, which is suspicious. It's almost like they're underdoing it a little bit. So, I mean, it's clear right now. I mean, there's literally like no clouds out there, just maybe a random high thin cloud, but literally no clouds out there right now. And usually on a day like today, there usually is clouds because it's Florida, ton of moisture and crap. So we'll see. Maybe about an hour or so, or a little bit later today, we'll get some rain hopefully. But might be a little too late because it's right now. Again, it is warm and hot, and yeah, it's not ideal conditions. It's gray. So fall and the fall weather can't come sooner enough. What is coming soon, speaking of, coming soon, is the season, right? Fall camp and all that intel. So let's get into it. Fall camp intel, like I mentioned on the top of the show, a lot of injuries happening here, a lot of players being hurt. Again, kind of, it's going to be a theme here, a lot of offensive line injuries. So that teams are dealing with. So speaking of injuries, again, whether it's offensive line or skill positions, yeah, a lot of injuries going on. So South Carolina, if you go back to the spring and go back to our shows back then, that they've been, Shane Beamer and company dealing with a lot of injuries, right? They've had issues with whether it's offensive line and I believe D line. So both lines of scrimmage. So that was already bad enough, right? I believe they've already lost one of their transfers to the season, so he's not going to play for them at all. But to make matters worse, they suffered another blow. This time on the wide receivers. Jaden Sellers, not related to Lenora Sellers, and both him and Gibson were both announced to be missing the entire season. So they're done. Both of their wide receivers, behind Nick Harbor, right, who's still there, are out. So be interesting to see who good old Lenora Sellers will be throwing the ball to. Besides Nick Harbor, not much. So yeah, South Carolina. Yeah, that's definitely reassuring. Not. Let's see here. Texas. Oh yeah. So left tackle Trevor Gooseby, going to be a high draft pick going into this upcoming draft next spring. Probably, if not already, a preseason All-American candidate. He's out. He injured his knee yesterday. Status is not sure yet. Hopefully, it's not a season ending, and hopefully he'll be back in time for the postseason and whatnot. But that's not good. Definitely, that's really not good. He was getting supposed to be one of or more or less the premier offensive lineman, really in the SEC. So that is really, really not good. Again, it happened. That news broke yesterday, so that's not good. And there's definitely going to be a lot of reshuffling there with Texas and what they're going to do there with the offensive line. Some projections on who's going to start there. So whoever it's going to be someone else new. Whether it's they're moving people around or a younger guy stepping in. But the problem is that they're not. None of those guys are Trevor Gooseby, and that's a huge loss there for UT and Sark. Speaking of Texas, their rival on the opposite side of the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma. Jake, who is this? Jake Mikula? Again, apologies for the pronouncing the last name, but their starting center, he's out. Not season ending, according to people like Pete Nakos and the folks at On 3 and 247. So not season ending, probably. Brings me out for a while. And unfortunately for them, the bill kind of comes due pretty quickly. It gets real in a hurry because they play Michigan, who is going to be a very physical team on both sides of scrimmage. They're going to be playing them immediately. That's week 2. So that's not good either. So don't expect him to be playing definitely in the first game of the year and probably not the second game of the year, which is, again, unfortunately, your trip to Ann Arbor. So that's not good, especially, given that you have some questions there with John Mateer. Not questions if he's a good player. He is a good player, but, there's some folks who question Mateer a little bit in terms of, his skill set and his throwing motion, the fact that he does run around a lot. Hopefully that's not a sign of things to come, that he will be running around even more, given he's losing his star center there. So we'll see what they do there. But again, thankfully it's not season ending there for Mr. Jake, the center there for Oklahoma. So that's all the good stuff. But the bad thing is he is going to be out, and he'll be missing some time here. So that's not good. Now over in Auburn, haven't talked about them. Did we talk about them last show? We may have, but it's been about a show or two. But anyway, had their first scrimmage the other day. Mixed at best. I'm sure most of you have seen the clip of Alex Glass circulating. I know a lot of folks are making a big deal about it, saying, "Oh man, this is really bad. This sounds like Hugh Freeze all over again." Let me just inform you. That's pretty typical. A lot of these scrimmages typically are not. It's a scrimmage, right? It's not going to be perfect. It's not a actual game. It's more or less, the comparison you can make, if you will, with a football scrimmage to something else would be sort of like how people view, or how you should view, like a trailer for a movie, right? It's a preview and sort of a highlight reel of what things are to come, right? That's what a scrimmage is. A scrimmage is sort of giving you a lot of things out of context, sort of a highlight reel, and kind of, giving you a preview of what you could see. It's not, the final product, but that's basically what a fall scrimmage is. It's basically a preview. Same thing with spring games. Exact same thing. Same principle. It's a preview. So Auburn's first scrimmage, being as mixed as it was, like, I don't know, pretty typical. Same thing in the NFL too. It's not, you hear stories about, again, as a Bucs fan, you hear, oh, Baker Mayfield threw an interception. Like, I don't know, like, cool. As long as he doesn't do it in the game, that's fine. So Auburn's first scrimmage is, kind of is what it is, right? Now for Iowa, really interesting. So we haven't talked about Iowa. We haven't talked about Iowa in a while, actually. I don't think ever since the last season ended, which is crazy. So yeah, Iowa. Kirk Ferentz still there. Good man, a good coach. Not a biggest fan, not a huge fan of the, particularly the offense they run up there. But I respect him as a coach. But anyway, one of the things that they have been very scrutinized about is, of course, their offense, particularly the fact they don't really have wide receivers that are really that special, which is true, and I obviously totally agree with that. But Iowa's wide receivers, maybe the best part of the team this year on offense. That's the scoop I've been getting, at least the feel I'm getting from camp up there. They've been really impressive. They've been doing a lot better. The folks thought they were going to be one name to keep an eye on. Tony Diaz, I believe, a transfer that they got in from the transfer portal, could be a major factor, right? So again, if you're kind of thinking about teams here in the Big Ten, teams that could be, I don't know, chaos teams, Iowa could be one, Washington. So Iowa, their receivers, and yes, they're also breaking in a new quarterback. I believe it's Hank Brown and another I forget the guy's name, another individual who is also in that mix for the starting quarterback there in Iowa City. So we'll see. But yeah, Tony Diaz, these wide receivers that they've acquired here in the portal, impressing. So that's good if you're an Iowa fan. At least that's something you can hang your hat on and say, hey, at least that's a little different than it has been the past few years, right? When it's been, offense scoring an average of like 2 points a game or something like that and whatnot. And hopefully, that is true, and they can be a lot better than they have been recently. So that's a positive, right? At least there's Again, it is something a little bit new there for Iowa. So, yeah, a lot of injuries. South Carolina, that's really bad. Oklahoma and Texas, yeah, that's not good either. And look, that happens a lot in camp, right? You get all these injuries and stuff, but as they say, and like I do agree with this a lot, that the one position group you cannot lose at all, period. In fall camp, it's really two: defensive line and O line, especially O line. And Bud Elliott made this point earlier, and I'll wrap up with this: that with all these offensive line issues happening, whether it's Texas, Oklahoma, I think Georgia has had some issues too. I don't think those have been really been made public a whole lot, but they've apparently been dealing with issues too. That's tough, man, especially with a position, again, like Bud mentioned on his tweet earlier, or his post earlier, that these guys aren't really hard. They're not really easy to find. They're really hard to find. These guys are also going to be worth a lot of money. Well over 500K, these guys are getting paid. So it sucks, man. It really does suck. And hopefully, for OU and Texas fans' sake, these injuries aren't season ending. Now, again, we know for Oklahoma, their center he'll be playing at some point this year, but won't be starting initially. Hopefully for Trevor Gooseby, it's not serious, but my personal opinion is it probably is serious, and he is going to be out for an extended period of time, which, much like Oklahoma, they face Ohio State. Yes, they have their own issues with the defensive line and a lot of questions there, but still a competent team, still a physical team there. So that, if you're an OU and Texas fan, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how you guys are feeling, but if I were an OU or Texas fan, I don't know what I'll do with myself. That would be deflating, if you will. So, yeah, a lot of injuries there and a lot of interesting stuff, too, in Iowa. Man, how about that? They're wide receivers. Impressing somehow. Who put that on their bingo card for fall camp until in 2026? And that's the show. Well, we're a little bit under an hour here. So we'll be back on Thursday. As per usual, I don't think we're doing an extra pod tomorrow. We'll try to do one maybe Friday or something like that. We'll see. But, yeah, that's the show. So, again, be sure to, again, subscribe to the channel, like the streams, like the videos, subscribe to the podcast feed. That's where you can get the extra pod. It's Spotify exclusive, at least the entire thing. We'll post some of the clips on YouTube. I still need to do those. I'll probably do this tomorrow a little bit. But, again, follow us on the socials, Instagram, X, Spotify feed, and on YouTube. Okay? Okay. All right. Until Thursday when we see me again. Until then, take care. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Enjoy your Wednesday.